Does that Fed Darius have you down in the dunks? Me too. That's why I listen to Youth and Vigor, a podcast hosted by the Vigor 4, meant to assist you in creating a positive mental and a positive KDA. We cover a wide array of topics each week with new guests, so sit down, grab yourself some water, and tune in.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're having a great day so far. We have a very special guest joining us today. It is none other than BananaGuyGamer. BG, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, my friend. Pretty good. A little bit tired. It's been a long week, but solo queue. It's been a wild ride this week in League of Legends. That's for sure.
Oh, you can say that again. I completely understand your pain. For some reason, once you demote once, you almost slide back a complete rank. It's insane what happens, but you know what? Sometimes you just gotta let life kick you, and then you get back up and you say, "Don't do that again, please."
Yeah, that, or when it kicks you, you're like, "Listen, man, I do roundhouse kicks. That was just like a little kick. I'll kick you back,"
Exactly. Well, anyway, I appreciate you coming on Youth and Vigor, the podcast today. I got some questions for you, and I actually want to start with probably the first one, BG, if you will. Where does your name, BananaGuyGamer, come from?
Well, I'm so glad you asked there, Mr. Viger, because it is a pretty fun story. It's a little bit long-winded. How much time do we have?
As long as you need.
Okay, fantastic. So basically what happened is when me and Banana moved over from Australia, we came over with 2 suitcases each. We didn't have a lot of stuff. We really didn't. I mean, when we flew, our first port of entry into the United States was Hawaii, and it was like 110 degrees, and I was wearing my only 4 jackets that I own. So I was dying because we didn't have any stuff, like other than, clothes and a couple of bits and pieces. So within the first week or two, I think, of being here, we got a place, and then we went to Marshall's, which is just like, I don't even know how to describe a Marshall store, but it's got everything. And so we went to Marshall's. We go in there, we're buying our pots and pans. The line, it's the middle of summer. It's so hot, so uncomfortable. We're standing in a line that's like 100 feet long. And I'm like, you know what? I don't like lines. I don't like standing in lines. I'm going for a walk. So I go for a walk through the clothing section, and I stumble upon the banana shirt, and I'm like, well, you know what? If I'm going to be standing in this line, I'm buying this banana shirt. So that's where the banana shirt came from. Then what happened was, I think maybe a couple of weeks later after that, me and Banana went out for some drinks. This was pre-COVID, of course, when you could actually go out and do things. Wore the shirt out, and we went to a few different bars and had a few drinks, a few lemonades and stuff like that.
Right.
And anyway, basically this drunk American guy just kept calling me Banana Guy. He was just like, "Hey, Banana Guy, I really like that shirt. Hey, Banana Guy, where's the cab rank?" And just, I don't know, just from then on, like that was it. Like that's just who I became. I wore the shirt and tried to expand the brand.
So, wow, incredible. So one of the first things you bought when you came to the United States was some banana apparel.
That's literally, 100%.
It's fun.
And a bagel from Dunkin' Donuts. Shout out to Emily.
Awesome. Wow, Dunkin' Donuts also making it in there. You know that saying, America runs on Dunkin'?
I don't know it, but it makes sense now.
That is that's their line, but I personally don't really go Dunkin' that way that often. But anyways, that's cool. I like the fact that it was the drunk guy in the bar that really caused the name to stick. It's interesting how stories like that, no one ever knows the history of that. I would have never guessed that. I thought that, you had like, if I was going to guess, like, I had a theory that maybe you were allergic to bananas and so you only wore them or something crazy. I don't know.
I mean, that's a decent guess, to be honest. The problem is, I mean, it's fallen off recently, but I used to eat a lot of bananas on stream. We even used to have like a a peeling session. This is going to sound weird, but we used to see how many different ways we could peel the bananas. So
Do you know?
but
Do you know that a banana actually has 3 sections of fruit in it?
of course I know that. Yeah, I totally knew that.
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
No, I believe you because I knew that too.
Okay, all right. Because a lot of people are like, what do you mean? That's so ridiculous. It's true. It's true. If you haven't done it before, it's gonna sound weird. Next time you go to eat a banana, stick your finger right down the middle from the top to the bottom, and you'll see it'll split into 3 pieces.
I mean, that I might have to do that off stream. That sounds a little bit TOS to me.
It very well could be, but it depends on if you're trying to take it there or not. But anyway, I digress. So BG, you've been in the United States for how many years?
We came on the week before the 4th of July in 2018. So what's that, like 2 years and like a couple of months, I guess?
Yeah. Um, yeah. And what do you think? Do you like it? Do you miss Australia?
I mean, it's pretty cool, man. Like, it's very, I mean, I guess it was less of a culture shock for me because when I was, a little bit younger, I've been lucky enough to like, back home before we moved over here, I worked a lot of hours and I kind of made decent money, I guess. So I was able to travel around a lot, so I traveled a little bit. So it was a little bit less of a culture shock than it might be, but I'd never been to America. So there's definitely some learning curves, that's for sure. But
You
I
can
mean,
say
it's
that
great.
again.
I mean, obviously COVID kind of threw a little bit of a curveball, but like, it's great here, it's, the thing is like, there's a lot of opportunity here, depending on what you do, and there's a lot of different cultures. There's a lot of different food. There's a lot of different places to travel. And then you're also, so the thing about Australia, I do miss Australia and I miss my family, but I lived in Australia for many years, and so and because I'd traveled, I don't I was kind of getting sick of it. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah. It's
yeah, I mean, it's great.
it's interesting. It's probably a lot safer because I feel like everything down in Australia can kill you. Like it's poisonous or it's like aggressive nature, like the kangaroos or things like that.
Yeah, look, we have a lot of venomous and dangerous animals. The thing is that realistically, not many people actually like get hurt or attacked by those animals. You know what I mean? So it's this like fun thing to be like, oh, everything in Australia is trying to kill you, and it's like, well, not really. They're not trying to kill you. If you accidentally stumble upon one of them, yeah, they'll probably, you know, give you issues.
I can see that. I mean, there are dangerous aspects everywhere we go.
Exactly.
It's just it's funny how we take an idea and we can inflate it, and so we automatically think the worst of it. Here's an example. We're in the picks bans phase of a league match, and you're looking at the team lineup of the other team, and you're like, wow, man, they got a Vayne, and a Cassidy. Like, oh, we're gonna lose this game now, and you just automatically imagine it at its worst potential. Like,
Exactly.
it's funny how we do that. But that kind of leads me into my next question, BG. We talk a lot about positivity on our channels and about making a good impact. How is it that you have developed or landed where you have with your optimism or your respect for others or your positive mental? Like, that's not something that is necessarily accessible to everyone. It's something you have to practice, and you get to that point after you. And I say this, you have your own head screwed on straight, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, some of it might actually come with, being a little bit older than the average league player. So if we say like the average league player is like, 16 to 18 to 20 years old, and, I've been around the block a little bit longer than that. Not much, of course, but because no one really knows how old I am. That's a secret. But I don't know. I think a lot of that comes from it's like a combination of a lot of things. It's like whether you're happy with what's going inside of your stream, inside like outside of your stream, what's going on with life in general. Like I think it's like a combination of a lot of things, and also a lot of practice too, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think also, actually enjoying. Like I think a lot of people, or I don't want to say a lot of people, but I think there are a lot though of people that just stream for the sake of streaming and not necessarily because they actually genuinely enjoy it.
I could agree with that. I think that it's kind of trendy to do. You're playing video games. It's a lot more accessible to have a more powerful computer. Laptops are built with cameras, and it's like you have some of the natural pieces there, and then they're like, I'm gonna fire up a stream. I'm gonna go do this streamer thing, and
To be fair, that is exactly how I started. But
the call out.
But after I started, I realized how much I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I was like, well, like it's also a lot better for my body as well because my body's pretty beaten up. So,
Oh wow, it sounds like there's a story there. But I mean, you live to be so old, and you start to have.
so young, sorry.
Oh, so my bad.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually had my birthday this month, and I swear to you, dude, the next day I woke up and like I used to be a hurdler. I did track and field for 10 years, and I woke up and my back, I had reactivated like an old hurdling injury in my lower back, and I was like, "What just happened? I just aged 10 years overnight."
Yeah, it feels bad, man.
It does. It does. But so we were talking about positivity, and you had said something that I liked, and you had said that you're a little bit, and I think you had said something to the effect of older, more experience with life, and things like that. So basically, what you're saying is there's a difference of your perspective from when you're 16 or 18 years old, however, to where we're at now, where we have we're at the age where we should graduated college and have like a job and are doing other things, and you think that the positive mental and the optimism, it comes from a different perspective of life.
Yeah, and like it's that, and then also I think so one of the things that I think is kind of fascinating with League of Legends, right, is that like it is like a team sport, right? It's a team game. And so for me, like my whole life growing up and even into adulthood, I played sport and played competitive sport in teams. And so a lot of, I guess, like the only, I would say, frustrations that come from me is if I don't play well, then I let down my team and we can't win. Or if someone isn't trying their best to win. Because when I was growing up, like if I played sport, if I played, my rugby league, I played cricket, basically anything. If I played anything and was competing in anything and I wasn't trying to win or trying to like do my best, like my dad wouldn't have even looked at me. You know what I mean? and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that like that's so I think like I think that's where a lot of people struggle with their mental. It's the fact that they don't have control over what other people are doing in their game. And that is really frustrating to people. And I think that's where, like, and we're just talking League of Legends in particular. I think that's where most people's frustrations come from. It's just like basically a lack of miscommunication or thinking that we should be doing something else and having no control over it. And I think understanding that makes it a lot easier for me to just, basically be as positive as possible in games.
Yeah. It's almost like there's a little bit of a disconnect.
There's a huge disconnect, yeah.
Well, in multiple ways, because I'm talking about like when I'm playing League and when you're playing League, I kind of disconnect from the game a little bit and I hold it at a distance mentally because I know that my satisfaction in life is not based on whether we win or lose this game, you know, and and I don't know if that comes from a different life experience or like maybe like a mature perspective on what I've experienced, but like that helps me to not focus on the negative stuff and just let it roll off, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's tough, man. It's honestly tough. And the other thing is like, you know, video games too give you like the ability to, you know, do and say things without there being any, you know, repercussions, and that's always been a bit of a problem as well. So it's I think for younger people, I mean, honestly, the thing is like I think back to when I was younger, and I definitely had a different attitude, you know,
We
when I
all
used
did. We
to
all
say
did.
things. And so it's like you have to understand that for me or other people that are, you know, maybe a little bit older, it's so easy for us to sit back and be like, oh, you know, you can't do this and you can't say that and you can't do this. And then it's like maybe you would have done that back in those days when you were younger, and you maybe didn't care as much about what you said or how you made people feel, right?
Yeah. And you know
So
what? It's like it's kind of the classic situation of like, oh no, don't touch the stove, it's hot. Don't touch the stove, it's hot. And then they touch the stove and it's hot. It's like, why didn't you listen to me? I told you the stove was hot. But they're not going to learn it unless they've experienced it. And
well, and the other thing too is that I think what there's the biggest thing for me that I think that I try and like one of the things I try and tell people, particularly younger people now, is like like for me, maybe like however many years ago, it was less of a worry. But I mean, there's still people from, let's just say, my generation, which is not that long ago, right, chat? Like now there's like so many more repercussions for potential life opportunities, right? So if you do and say things that are not really great, that can get you like that can potentially lose you like a career or a job, you know. And so I I basically try and tell people like, you know, just be really careful, like really think about what you're saying and what you're doing, because in the day of technology and smartphones and stuff, you know, if you say something stupid or you're mean or you do the wrong thing, it could really come back and actually mess your life up pretty bad.
yes, it can. BG, your chat loves you right now. And I hope that you are acknowledging them.
They're only doing it to troll me, you know? So I am very, very thankful, but at the same time, I'm like, these guys are just trying to freaking troll me.
Well, you are welcome, because it's payday.
We get paid.
That's so funny. Oh man, I love it. So positivity, optimism, respect for others comes with age, and it's something that we learn. It's not something that everyone has when they're younger, but it's very much so. I think maybe like it's. I think it's a little bit more professional. It's something that you develop. There's a big change between high school and college because you learn that suddenly it doesn't matter what people think and say, and the only thing that matters is whether or not you have confidence in yourself, right? And I'm not saying like super confident, like egotistical, but you know, people show up to the cafeteria or wherever, they wear pants, they wear sweatpants. It doesn't matter because they're not worried about what people think of them. But I think that professionalism has kind of taught us to have a different perspective and to honestly give respect where respect is sometimes harder to give, if you follow what I'm saying.
I do. That was actually what I was going to talk about next. Actually, I was going to say, like, at the end of the day, I think you'd probably, I think if people just, you know, oh my God, sorry, big donation. You know, it's easy for people that maybe think that things don't like affect them or they're not hurt by saying things. And I think you should really just try and like it doesn't take a lot of effort to be respectful to basically anyone and everyone, right? Like it's really like it's not that hard. Like it doesn't hurt you to be respectful or nice to someone else. It doesn't hurt you to also be mean, but why would you go out of your way to do that? Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And generally speaking, that people, I think that people that do that, it's because they're having their own personal problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, right? IRL
So-
comes first. If someone's life is falling apart and then they hop into solo queue or into a game or something like that, and that is like their source of enjoyment, and like they're just like trying to win a game, and all of a sudden all these things in their life that they can't control, they lose that game, the mental booms. It's gone. And I always try to encourage people to get your own ducks in a row first. And it's really challenging sometimes. And so I try to think of it like that. So like if this is the only source of life, the only thing that they can actually control, I'm going to try to have extra grace for them, because maybe they just need someone in their life that's going to lift their spirits a little bit.
Definitely agree with that. And the other thing is like, it's easy. Well, it's not as easy for me. It's not as easy for me or for someone that's hard stuck to just be like, oh, well, because a lot of high elo players, what they'll tell you is like, you've just got to, like in low elo, you've just got to carry and you've got a hard carry. And it's like, well, to do that, you have to be a lot better than what you are, right? Or you have to improve a lot so that you can. And so I think I'm actually, you know what? I have totally lost my train of thought. I'm not even joking.
I understand.
Totally lost it. What was the question again?
I've been watching your chat blowing up for the past.
Okay, but you can't hear the notifications, right?
No, but I know what they sound like.
God, I panicked for a second there. Oh my golly gosh. I was like, man, has he been doing this podcast? And it's just my stream just with noises the whole time. I was like, I'm never going to get invited to a podcast ever again.
Oh, this is amazing. We were talking about I don't even remember.
I don't remember. I don't know.
We were talking something about how we try to have extra grace for the people who come in, and that you might be the only person in their life that's gonna say something nice or try to.
Yeah. I mean, it's like this. I think a lot of it is like, it's like League is like so much about like, and this is again, this comes back to what I was talking about earlier. It's like so much about like you can only really control like what you're gonna do, right? And I think that's why I went on my rant about high elo players and trying to carry and stuff like that. It's like you can't control what your team's gonna do, right? So what you got to do is you just got to play good and try and carry yourself, right? And then obviously try and play with the team to the best of your ability. But like, if someone's being like that, it's like, it is like that. Honestly, people being toxic and flaming and doing all that stuff, that doesn't bother me at all. The thing that I think my biggest frustration that comes from League, and it does, it's just when people, you can tell that people aren't trying to win. That to me doesn't make any sense. Like I said, because that just comes from how I grew up. Like if I ever did anything and wasn't trying to win, like it's like why am I playing competitively? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I didn't care about winning, then I just wouldn't queue up for ranked. Like and that is like, it's just literally it. Like I would never try and play like anything competitive and not try everything to win.
Yeah. You know what, BG? I think that you and I have a different fundamental basis, because when we were experiencing sports, and League of Legends is an esport, it's a video game, it's very competitive, we experienced them in real life. You said you played rugby, you played cricket, I played soccer and other sports, and like we would never have a game and not show up on the field. You know what I mean? Like there is no stepping out onto the field and then spacing out. It's how we learned to be competitive. And I think that this younger generation who has maybe grown up playing this game they may have not had that fundamental competition instilled in them in that way.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think that that's a bit of the disconnect. I think, and I don't mean to say it to like, it's definitely not meant as a negative thing, but I think people that play, I actually think it would help a lot. I think esports and video game players in general would seriously benefit from playing physical sports in teams. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I think it's a very different environment, but you take a lot of that stuff from that and can translate that over, especially the psychology. And I think that's why a lot of esports teams have like psychology coaches and all that sort of stuff. It's because if you are someone that is now playing in a competitive environment and you're playing what is an esport, you know, but you've never played sport your whole life, there's a lot of things that you might not know how to deal with, or you might not know what to do, you know?
Yeah.
Or like coping with losing games, high-end games, high-stake games.
Yeah. It makes sense because you know, in those kind of things there's like a lot of mental toll, and if you don't have like a good outlet for that, I think that people can really pent up a lot of that energy and it becomes kind of negative.
100%. Or if you just, you know, if you don't know how to, if you don't like, I don't know, I'm failing to articulate what I'm trying to say, but what I'm saying is that because I played so much sport and I played in teams, like losing, like I've learned to lose and be okay with losing. Obviously, when I'm on a 10-game losing streak, I'm not overly happy, and I'm probably also not playing very well either. But like, I don't then go and decide to harass and flame people and call people names and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So maybe I think like learning, you know,
Yeah.
learning to cope with that stuff a little bit better. But then I think that, like I said, I think that also comes back to maybe a little bit of age as well.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's healthy to have an outlet, you know, like a physical outlet for some energy. You know, like going to the gym, going for a walk, getting some fresh air. There's a reason people say to do that stuff, and it
Oh,
turns out it helps a
100%.
lot. But as far as it comes to being like an influence in other people's lives, like there need to be people out there who are taking note of these things and actually trying to help others, right? Like we know League of Legends can be the saltiest community and super toxic at times, but my question is like, okay, so you guys are here because you like the positivity, but in your games you're being toxic. It's like it's hypocritical. Like if you think it's important for the positivity, then help us be positive. Help us make that change.
Yeah, it's a tough one too. You know, that is really tough. I mean, I think I say it quite a bit, and you know what, I've actually struggled with it a little bit sometimes because, like, I think part of being Australian is like loving banter and like, you know, like my whole, you know, teenage through to adulthood years was me basically, like, if it was League of Legends, you would like for like probably a good 10 years every day was just like flaming each other at work. Like if you were drawing the equivalent like words, like we would just go into work and just flame each other all day, but it was basically banter and fun. You know what I mean? Like that's just what we did to get through the days. So like you can't really translate that into League of Legends because it's a completely different like mentality, right? So what I try and tell people is, wait, what happened? Oh, these guys are. Hey, what I'm trying to say is like I try and tell everyone just be nice. Like it's not that hard. Just be nice. You know what I mean? And if they could take that, and then maybe think about that when they're in a game and they're having a hard time or their mental's not going too tough, or if they've had rough games, like I tell people that have had rough games, you know, just come and hang out in the chat. You know, we'll talk about plumbing, we'll talk about bananas, whatever it may be.
Why do you guys talk about plumbing?
You know, no, not really.
Okay.
But it's like, it's, you know, if you could come to the stream and like, you know, just chill out and that's like your mental break, you know, and you can watch me just be hard stuck gold for like 2 years. like, you know, it's just like, if that's what I can impart, like if you could come to my stream and just, you know, I don't want to say vent, because like, you know, my therapy, you know, bills are pretty expensive, but like, you know, if you can come, if you can come here and take away some sort of enjoyment, fantastic. And then, you know, take away just it's not that hard to be nice, you know?
Yeah, that's true. It's true. It's not that hard to be nice. It's just like with anything. Practice. You practice and you get better at it. And a lot of people look at, you know, maybe where you're at, where I'm at, and they see like, oh, it's so far off, it's not achievable for me. It is. It really is. But you start with the small steps. You don't take it at great leaps and bounds. It's something that happens slowly over time.
True, very true.
But I will say that I think something interesting is happening, and there are kind of little clusters of these communities and streamers popping up, and influencers as of late. This is prior to the start of this year, when everyone thinks that COVID has ended the world and everything's gonna get better in 2021. That's just not the case. I'm sorry, guys. But I think that there have been a lot of people seeking to make a positive impact, seeking to make a positive influence, and they're kind of popping up. And for instance, there's been a lot of recent activity and communication and buzz around one of the new stream teams, PMA, BG, and I know that you know, they have definitely been a source of attention recently in the League of Legends community, right?
Yeah. Very much so. I mean, and the thing is like, I you know, part of the reason, so I didn't even know about them until I found out some of the streamers that I know are a part of it. And that's how I found out about them. I like what they're, I mean, the league community could use a lot more of that. So I think the idea and the premise behind it and what they're trying to do is fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's really good, and I think that it's like interesting. But here's a question: do you think that positivity or having a positive mental is becoming somewhat of a trend because the culture is, well, because that idea is so countercultural?
To an extent, yes. So one of the ways I think about a lot of things, not just league, like in lots of different aspects of life, right? It's like if you think about a pendulum, right? You think about a pendulum, and you think about, you know, whether, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's politics, whether it's all different things, right? The pendulum is never really sitting in the middle, right? So let's just say, for example, for quite some time, you know, League of Legends, the pendulum has been swung over to like the negative and the toxic side of, let's just say, reality, for example. And over time, as that pendulum pushes too far to one side, eventually, you know, people are going to get sick of it, and then they are going to push back. And maybe that's what this is. Maybe it's the community, or maybe there's enough people now that are just sick of it to the point where they're trying to push that pendulum to swing it back over to the other side, you know?
Yeah, and I would love to see it swing over to that side. Going with that illustration, though, it is possible for it to swing back.
It is. Look, I don't think you'll ever get rid of it, though, because I think just like, the thing is that, like, I think there's just too much of the community that enjoy negativity. And I think there's, you know, the only way that you would ever get rid of it is to basically have every single person that watches League be happy outside of League. And that's not a reality, right? And so it's very tough, but at least we can battle against it, you know, and push back.
Yeah, of course. And with the entertainment of negativity, I've talked about this before on the podcast. You know, someone like Tyler One, where he's very much so putting on a show. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if some of the community is aware of that, and that's the behavior that they're replicating. So like, I want to try my very best to not do that, to model maybe better behavior, because I think that's important. and we need more people, more content creators out there who are trying to display positivity and honestly compassion and respect.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one because I'll be the first one to put my hand up and say, like, I watched Tyler One because but I feel so conflicted about it because I hate that he's toxic, but I also understand that a lot of it is acting and he's really entertaining, but he's toxic. So it's like it's and then the reason he got so popular was because of how toxic he was. So it's like it's kind of conflicting, you know what I mean? And I don't like that it's conflicting. And I don't want to be like that either. And I won't be like that. So, you know, it's a tough one.
Yeah, it really is.
It's super tough because I do think that League could probably do better with a lot more entertaining streamers. I think because League of Legends is so hard, like it's actually a really hard game. A lot of high elo streamers are, you know, really good at the game, but maybe less on the personality side. And so I would love to have more personalities in the game. The problem is that to get those personalities and to be one of the top League streamers, you kind of have to be the whole package, right?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I think that there are a lot of variables that go into it.
There's so many.
I also think that if your chat really wants to, go for that sub goal, make sure that they get it today. They got 8 days to go. I think they could probably hit it today.
Oh my god, this is ridiculous. What? I mean, if I had a thought that podcast would make this happen, we should do a podcast every week.
Oh, we'll do it every day. Look at that. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for supporting BananaGuyGamer. He's been a great friend of mine, and honestly, keep it up and support your content creators out there. What is going on? BG? Hello? We lost him. Ladies and
Sorry,
gentlemen.
I'm here. Sorry, I just fell over.
I know. I'm watching.
See that? He's. Sorry about this.
No. That's fine, man. That's great. BG, what? This is probably a great question. What has been your greatest success in streaming so far?
That's a tough one, man. That's a really tough one. I thought about this a lot, actually. I think one of the coolest things for me was getting to like meet some of the, I guess, streamers that I like looked up to, or even just like being, I don't want to say in the vicinity because that sounds kind of weird, but like, I guess just building something, building the stream up to a point where I was able to sort of integrate into the League community, I guess. Because for me, like I don't play in high elo, and that's how a lot of people know each other. A lot of what I think the real big streamers or the biggest streamers, they all play against each other in high elo, and they all kind of know each other. But for me, I don't have that opportunity. So I guess growing the stream to a point where I've been able to, get into a few tournaments here and there and actually meet and hang out with challenger players, and then also meet people at TwitchCon, right? That, I used to watch Trick2G on YouTube running around with Udir, and I got to get a photo with him. So, I don't really have a specific thing. I guess just pretty happy with how stubborn I've been, consistently streaming over the last 2 years.
Yes, Consistency is key, BG, and you are always out there putting in work.
Thank you, man. I know that's probably not the best answer, but
Sure.
I can't really think of like one particular thing. I mean, other than today, right now, where I'm getting 1 million subs, and I'm resigning from my day job. But no, it's I can't really put a finger on one thing. I think it's just that would be another thing that I would like to impart onto other people too. Is like just be like just be persistent and be stubborn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Like I think a lot of people by now, you know, if they were streaming as many hours and maybe not getting the results they want, would find it very easy to come up with a reason to stop. But I'm saying if you enjoy it and you love it, don't stop.
exactly. And I can respect that answer a lot because sometimes the great success in streaming is just not giving up. There are definitely some down days for it, but I think that if you don't enjoy the journey, if you don't enjoy the process, there really is no end goal for a lot of streamers and content creators. They're not out there to get like a certain amount of followers or subs or whatever, because the next goal is going to manifest itself on that way. And so you got to love growing. You got to love getting up and doing the same thing and seeing the small growth and seeing those small steps. And then you look back on how far you've come and you're like, dang, that was one small step for mankind and one giant leap for Banana Guys.
True. All right. Oh my god, my notification's been playing for like 20 years.
Oh yeah, I had it.
Pause it.
I'm not sure, but you know what, BG? I know that you've had a wild morning so far. I can wrap things up with you here, friend. I just want to say thank you so much for taking some time to talk today on Youth and Vigor, the podcast. I hope that you eventually can have some rest for your poor little banana ears, and that your chat.
Honestly, my ears aren't too bad. It's the rest of the body that hurts, my friend.
Oh, well.
Only because I did 1 million push-ups this morning. Am I right, chat?
Oh, I get that. I think I did 70 push-ups on my birthday.
70, frick, man. That's man. I mean, I was not really trying to flex, but damn.
Huh? Oh, I was just trying to say that I was supposed to do more, but I couldn't get past 70.
That's a lot. That's pretty awesome.
Oh man. Well, BG, I just want to say thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me. And wow, this has been so fun watching your chat and watching all the love for you from your community. You really have something awesome here, and I just want to say thank you guys for supporting this man and his full-time streaming career.
Thank you, man. Thank you for inviting me. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, and it's been fun. And I guess I'll see you Friday every week so that I can get the same amount of subs next Friday. Hey, chat.
Sounds good, man. All right, we'll talk to you later, BG, and have a great day.
No worries, man. Thank you so much.